No mass formation psychosis here. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. And we are streaming on Rumble. And we are streaming on X. And we are streaming on YouTube. And we're streaming at WYAB. So if you can't pick up the 50,000 watt blowtorch that is WYAB, always hit us up on the stream. And you want to be tuned in over the weekend as this craziness just continues to unfold. Look, if you want to be part of the program today, it's easy. 601-879-0002. And the text line is open at 601-879-5060. Look, I've got two things that I want to start with today. First one is good old Ecclesiastes. What has been is what will be, and what has been done will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. You know, we understand that we live in times where the weather gets kind of wonky, and we've never lived in such a time where we have so much access to so much information so quickly, and so many of us can make our own determinations to figure out what's right for us. But this has all been seen before. We've gone through ice storms before. We're Mississippi strong. We're going to be all right. But this is the one that got me, and this is coming from the last verse in the last book of Judges. In those days, there were no kings in Israel. Everyone did what was right in their own eyes. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what I'm going to focus on. We're doing everything that's right in our own eyes. We're not paying attention to what the heck's going on in and around the world. We're turning our backs away from God. And, there's just been so much going on in the world. And for those of us who have faith, we see it. For those of us who don't, we just think that it's something new. And I've got a wonderful text message last night, actually a Facebook message last night, and we're going to get into that. But before we get to that, we have to kind of go through and talk about what's happening at the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization, and all that craziness that's going on over in Europe, because it is having an effect on us here in the United States. The things that those high-profile gazillionaires in the political class are doing have ramifications on us. And the cracks are starting to show, ladies and gentlemen. The cracks are starting to show that there has been something amiss, where they have tried to get rid of capitalism, entrepreneurship, the small business. We've seen it here in the United States, but we've also heard about it over in Europe, especially the EU, the European Union. There are some countries in the EU that have rebelled against the EU, countries such as Poland, Hungary, to a lesser extent, Italy. But then there's also countries that have completely embraced the suck, if you will. Countries like France, Germany, and England. But listen to what this chancellor said over at the World Economic Forum. This is going to blow your mind away.
We are aware of those problems. Both Germany and Europe have wasted incredible potential for growth in recent years by dragging feet unnecessarily and excessively curtailing entrepreneurial freedoms and personal responsibility.
Wait, you mean you were buying American goods at low prices, selling us stuff at high prices, and then at the same time killing the economic entrepreneurship spirit that was in Germany and in the EU? Say it ain't so.
We are going to change that now. Security and predictability take precedence over excessive regulation and misplaced perfection.
You hear that? Excessive regulations. And people got mad at me yesterday in my text because I was saying how great it was that the Senate got rid of 22 different boards and commissions. We don't need excessive regulations. We need less regulation. We need less government. We have to start trusting our own eyes again. Although it's going to be a little bit difficult as this AI revolution kicks in. But we do. We need to trust our own eyes. They're not going to lie to you. You see it. I see it. We see it. We got to call it like we see it.
We must reduce bureaucracy substantially in Europe.
Hey, we need to reduce bureaucracy substantially in the United States and in Mississippi. How about that? What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Single market was once created to form the most competitive economic area in the world, but instead we have become the world champion of over-regulation.
The world champion of overregulation. That might be true. You definitely are trying to curtail free speech by trying to censor Elon Musk and X. The what I would argue is arguably the world's best free speech platform anywhere. And yet you have places like Great Britain and France and Germany who are actively trying to figure out ways to limit the access to X. You have these people, these World Economic Forums where they were debanking American citizens, where they were debanking conservatives all around the world, and now they're saying, "Oops, we made a mistake. Please don't hold it against us."
That has to end.
The only thing that has to end is the World Economic Forum, and we need to get back to nation states that will do what's best for their nation, not necessarily for their neighbors, their allies. And look, if it's coming down to it, and there's a war that's going on, you do not want allies. You want coalition members. We learned this in Gulf War I. We had a coalition. We had people going up against Saddam Hussein who never would have gone up against him if it would have been an ally type of operation. Germany needs to do what's best for Germany. France needs to do what's best for France. England what needs to do what's best for England. And the United States has to do what's best for the United States. And that includes taking operational control over Greenland. Yep, I said it. And when you hear what's going down, it's going to be quite frightening. Now, this is all going to tie together. We got to get there. We got to go there to get to where we need to be. The World Health Organization is now finally starting to unravel as well as the World Economic Forum. And this is a great thing. And for those of us who appreciate RFK Jr. and the work that he's doing at the Department of Health, it's groundbreaking work. We've got people right here in Mississippi who do it too. And I will continue to plug MPVR and Mary Jo Perry and her crew out there for the stuff that they do. Because there are so many people, even listening to this audience right now, who thinks that those vaccines are good. Well, nothing says like open light, transparency, truth, and sunshine, like asking or saying, trust the science, and then asking the data to be hidden for 75 years. Thank you very much, Pfizer. CBS News, sponsored by Pfizer. Hiding our medical data for 75 years until everybody's dead. Have you, and I am gonna go off on a rant here. Have you been seeing some of the commercials for these pharmaceutical companies lately? S Coming out against all sorts of things, Crohn's disease, whatever, and it's a 60-second commercial, and 20 seconds of it is telling you all the good stuff it does, and then 40 seconds telling you all the possible side effects, or really what they're saying is, "We think we got this drug that might do something, but here are all the possible side effects, and it could kill you." That's not what this is supposed to be. And the pharmaceutical company has a chokehold, not just on the United States of America, but on the world, in the world. And I can prove it. I can prove it. Even Bill Maher is getting roasted on his own program. And this is a minute, and I'm going to play it because I want you to understand the logic of what's going on, why it's so important that Robert Kennedy Jr. Is being allowed to go out there and uncover this stuff, why the deep state is trying to hide it, and the real facts, figures, and numbers behind it. 3, 2, 1, here we go.
There's 25% of Americans who believe that they know somebody who was killed by a COVID vaccine. Killed. 25% of Americans, 52% of Americans believe that the
Does anybody know anybody who died from COVID? I do. My very good friend on the McHenry County Board, Chuck Wheeler, hurts to say, man, he was a good dude. Great dude. Great conservative. So I'm one of the 25%.
Vaccines are causing injuries, including death.
A majority of Americans thinks that vaccines are causing death. I know so many parents who are now trying to figure out how to opt out of so many of these vaccines that they're pushing into our kids. Many people believe that the vaccines are causing autism. Could it be? Let's continue.
52%. Oh, if you look at the clinical trial studies, the actual studies that were done that were released of the Pfizer vaccine, Moderna has not released it.
If you got to say something positive about Pfizer, at least they put out their data. Moderna has not, which makes me very skeptical of anything coming out of that company.
You look at the Pfizer vaccine, there were 22,000 people in the placebo group, 22,000 people who got the actual vaccine. And the people who got the vaccine had a 23% higher death rate.
So if you got the placebo vaccination shot, you had a 23% less chance of dying, whereas if you got the vaccine shot, you had a 23% chance of more of dying. Make it make sense. I'll tell you where it makes sense is in people's 401ks and stock option portfolios. Speaking of stock options and your 401k, if you have silver, you are a happy camper because in just 5 months, you went from $40 an ounce to over 100. That's telling you that the US dollar is in trouble. Let's finish this up because this is just so juicy.
From all causes at the end of that study.
But that could not be the disease itself?
No, well,
because we know that
if it is, then the vaccine doesn't work, does it?
Well, it's early. Well, no, that's not
getting smoked on his own show.
There's
getting smoked on his own show because the people see it. Even the libs, the mind-controlled robots, are seeing through the malaise that has been put out by our federal government on behalf of the pharmaceutical companies, and they're out there. But it's just not in the United States, my friends. No. And everybody's saying Bill Maher's getting red pill, Bill Maher's getting black pill. No, he's not. He's tried true Democrat. He's going to be that way. But I'm telling you, we're starting to see through it, whether it be at the World Economic Forum, whether it be at the World Health Organization, or whether it be on the Bill Maher show. And when we get back from this commercial break, you're going to hear from a country in Africa that is absolutely fit to be tied about these vaccines that they're trying to push down everybody's throat. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back.
WYAB.
Getting a new prescription filled in your eyeglasses may not get rid of your headaches. It may not be the prescription at all. If your eyeglasses are not custom fit and properly adjusted to you, that could be the source of your headaches. At Eye Gear Optical, we verify the prescription in your lenses and the custom fitting of your frames to ensure you have the most comfortable and visually accurate eyeglasses every time. We fit eyeglasses to you, your lifestyle, and your budget. Eye Gear Optical, 2630 Highway 80 East in Pearl, and eyegearoptical.com.
Weekdays 10 to noon in Jacksontown. On WYAB, it's the hottest show around. Andrew Gosser Show. Hey Jackson, turn it up. Let your message go. They're tuned in, you know. Put your business in the spotlight on the Andrew Gosser Show.
Advertise with Andrew. Email info@wyab.com.
Hi, this is Lee Atkins of Home Care Plus in Ridgeland. We are a proud carrier of Abena Premium Incontinence products. Abena has the most absorbency available, making changes and leaks less likely. After 7 years as a seller, I can tell you these products are amazing and worth every penny to quality of life for patient and caregiver. And we ship all incontinence products as well. So please come see us at Home Care Plus in Ridgeland for all the incontinence needs of you or your family member. That's Home Care Plus in Ridgeland.
You can show your pride and patriotism in honor of the 250th birthday of this great nation by proudly flying a flag. And a complete flag source on I-55 in Jackson is the place to find it. All sizes for all purposes. And they have the official 250-year celebration flag. Have a look at CompleteFlags.com. That's CompleteFlags.com.
I'm here with John Ravenstein, and John, you sure seem to love what you do.
What's not to love?
Working with diamonds and gemstones.
Ever since I was a kid, growing up in Northeast Jackson, I dreamed of being a jeweler.
You knew that early on what you wanted to be in life?
I would ride my bike every day after school, all the way down to my parents' store on Capitol Street to clean the jewelry cases, just to see every diamond I could. It was amazing.
Like a kid in a candy store, huh?
And right then I knew it was either that or a rock star.
I didn't know you could sing.
You know, I can't. That's why I'm a jeweler.
I don't know, John. If you think about it, you got thousands of fans.
Yeah.
And women who adore you.
Okay.
You're a rock star.
I guess you're right. And these are my Rolling Stones.
Juniker Jewelry, Mississippi's direct diamond importer. From anywhere in Mississippi, we're at 1485 Highland Colony Parkway, just south of 463 in Madison, and JunikerJewelry.com.
At Lakeshore Church, we believe the liberation of the soul is found only in Christ. Hello, I'm Jay Frazier, Senior Pastor at Lakeshore, inviting you to come and worship with us this week. We believe in the three-cross concept of ministry, the cross of salvation, the cross of separation, and the cross of service, and we believe all of these crosses should be evident in our lives. We're at 6880 South Sidewell Road in Byram. For more information about the ministries, activities, and times of service, go to lakeshorecmc.org.
And be sure to listen to Lakeshore Church's weekly program, heard Sunday mornings at 8 on 103.9 WYAB.
When you feel like your business is drowning in paperwork and compliance issues, it's time to call Peoplease. Let Peoplease take care of the busy work so that you can save valuable time and focus on what really matters, growing your business. Peoplease is based in Ridgeland, so you're always dealing with local professionals who will actually understand your business and its needs. Join thousands of satisfied clients who trust Peoplease to simplify their employee administration. Visit Peoplease.com. That's Peoplease.com to learn more.
Oh, yeah. It is the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We are moving and grooving. And look, yes, the weather is a little bit cool outside. And yes, they say that it's going to get really nasty, but it's not going to be today and it's not going to be tomorrow. So this is a perfect time for you to get on over to iGear Optical and go see my man, Bruce Bennett, located at 2630 Highway 80 in Pearl. You know, it's more to getting glasses than just going to a big box store than just getting the prescription filled and choosing a pair of frames for your glasses. There's so much more into it. And it's important with glasses. You know, this is what you're seeing everything with. Why not have somebody, a Mississippian who knows how to do this instead of going to a big box store to go ahead and get your glasses? They're open Monday to Friday. That's today, 10 to 6 p.m. Tomorrow, Lord willing, they'll be open from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Now's a great time to go see Bruce. You can catch him online at iGearOptical.com. That's iGearOptical.com. Brother Bruce, we appreciate your sponsorship here at the show. We really do. So we're continuing on here with our crusade to point out how the vaccines in Europe and in the World Health Organization and in the World Economic the World Economic Forum are starting to unravel. And here is the CEO of Pfizer. And before we do that, you just might want to Google the history of Pfizer and see where they originally started their vaccination projects from. I'm just saying. Here you go.
It's a different world when you start discussing vaccines. There is almost like a religion there. So
it's almost like a religion there. They're destroying and attacking religion at every chance they get. Never mind, religion has been the greater part of human existence. They attack it. Vaccines for people who are religious for getting the vaccine and people who are just religious in general. It's almost like they're creating their own religion, the religion of Pfizer, the religion of vaccinations.
Very concerned, very frustrated with that, but I continue engaging and.
Why don't people trust Pfizer? Why don't people trust the vaccine companies? Look, vaccines did a lot of great stuff back in the day. Polio, got rid of that. Measles, got rid of that. What's changed? What's the perception that made people change from turning away from Pfizer to actually liking Pfizer to turning away from it? I can tell you why. It's the science, and there's doctors out there who are no longer silenced by the mainstream media or social media. Thank you, Elon Musk.
We have, as I said, a very strong and respectful, both ways, relationship, and we can chat about that.
So, sort of discuss the things that you can get agreements on, and park the issues that you kind of fundamentally disagree on. Works for a while, but it's not a sort of sustainable kind of thing for years to come. Something has to change, no?
The Secretary of Health.
Yes.
So they're saying that they have to change the Secretary of the World Health Organization. Or were they saying the Secretary of Health at the United States? The world does not want a strong United States. The world wants a United States that appears strong so that they can use our military to go thump anybody who needs to be thumped, but they want to have the operational control over that. They had operation control over the United States military when they had Sleepy Joe Biden in office and Kamala Harris in office. They could even use the U.S. soldier as a guinea pig, forcing us to get vaccinations who are on active duty. I wonder if all those people who refused the vaccination have been brought back on active duty. Remember how that was such a big deal when Trump took office? And all of us were running around, hooray! I wonder where that is at right now. And you're like, Andy, this is all kind of roads we've been over before. It has, but it's never been out in the open at the World Health Organization and the World Economic Forum. But it's you're going to see why I'm getting there, and it's got a connection to do with one religion. You see what I did there, brother David? Brought your text in there, and then it's also going to have to what they did, not only to the Native American Indians back in the day, but what they're doing in a very hotly contested piece of property right now. It's absolutely incredible. This is, and everybody knows my pronunciation of names is a little bit tough, but this is a doctor from Kenya, and it's Dr. Wahom Nagari. I hope I said that right. Listen to what Pfizer did in Kenya.
We cannot afford to trust WHO anymore, Your Excellency. And I'll just mention a few things that have caused great concern to us. In 2014, 2015, WHO brought tetanus eradication campaign in our country. It was a campaign to eradicate neonatal tetanus, babies who are born who eventually get tetanus. And the vaccine that was used is a different type of a tetanus vaccine that is a fertility regulating vaccine.
Did you hear that? First of all, this is 2015 that the World Health Organization wanted to bring this in via Pfizer, by the way. And allegedly Pfizer, but I think it is Pfizer. And here they go. They bring this program into Kenya, and now look what happens. Infertility starts to rise. What other countries have infertility problems right now? Why is America birth rate down? Why is the West birth rate down? Remember they always worried about population control? Remember that giant monument in Georgia that mysteriously got blown up? And we couldn't figure it out? I mean, at some point, the coincidences are just too much, and it's not like we're stretching out. These are doctors and scientists who are coming out against this. But let's listen to what this doctor from Kenya has to say.
Where they take tetanus and combine it with a hormone called human chorionic gonadotropin that supports pregnancy.
Don't ask me to say what human growth hormone that is, but it supports pregnancy, and you are gonna find out right now what this tetanus vaccination program, eradication program in Kenya actually did.
And when you inject a woman with that vaccine, she produces antibodies against that hormone and therefore is rendered sterile. So we are noticing an increase in the number of infertility cases among young couples who you examine and they are normal but cannot get children, or couples who are losing 3, 4, 5 pregnancies before they can carry any pregnancy to term. We were able to expose this, and we have even published a paper that is available. And fortunately, in 2017, WHO said Kenya is now free of neonatal tetanus, and they left our country. But they developed this vaccine over a 20-year period of research from 1972 to 1992. And they used that vaccine in South America, and it is possible it has been used in many other African countries.
And there you go, 1972 to 1992. You know, there's all these vaccination nutters out there, these crazy people who said they've been working on this for decades. They've been working on this for decades. Now you have a licensed physician who has the data, who's published the papers, who has the receipts, if you will, talking about how they've been working on shrinking the population, not just of the United States, but of the world. And they do it under the guise of the World Health Organization. Who would ever dare vote against and defunding the World Health Organization? I'll tell you who. Who would dare vote against it? Somebody like President Trump. We need to get the hell out of this organization, and in fact, we need to have we we need a special prosecutor. We don't need the Department of Justice going after their plate is full. They've gone to a Golden Corral, all you can eat, and they've got 2 plates, and they didn't even get any of the stuff. It's just full of meat, and they need to feast, and they need to eat on that. And not only do they have 2 full plates, and they haven't even said grace yet. They haven't even put their napkin in their lap. They haven't even got their fork and their spoon and or the fork and knife ready to go. And don't even look at all that dessert rack over there, DOJ. You need to go ahead and eat. We need a special prosecutor to go after the World Health Organization and the World Economic Forum. We can't afford to have that. We can't even get our stuff straight in Minnesota. Let's not even try to put one more thing on the plate of the DOJ right now. So we're sitting here and we've set the stage for where we've got evidence now that the World Health Organization is using vaccines to regulate population control. I'd like to see a study here in the United States of how many young couples are having a problem having fertility. This is one of the reasons they say that we need immigration, more mass immigration, legal immigration, not the illegal immigrants that are flooding not just the United States of America, but France, Germany, England, and other Judeo-Christian countries. And they are. They're overran right now. They've got to destroy the faith that made those countries great. And look, I'm not saying that bad things didn't happen by people who said they professed to be Christians. That's not what I'm saying. If you've got a problem with the faith, you've got a problem with the person who's practicing it, not the faith itself. That's a personal examination that you need to have a one-on-one conversation with God on. But when we get back, the coup de grace, what actually happened in Greenland with Denmark. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Yeah, you are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9. And we are talking about things that have happened, whether it be with the World Health Organization, whether it be with Pfizer, whether it would be on Bill Maher with RFK Jr., or whether it would be with anybody else sitting there at Davos trying to take over the world and have us live in their version of life, not what we want, not our own economic freedom. And I do get fired up over it because in the beginning, again, I want to read this because you're going to understand what has been is what will be, and what has been done will be done. There's nothing new under the sun. I talked about how the American Indians were poisoned by some of the people who came over here w- with putting in viruses into blankets and getting Indians poisoned. That's wrong. Well, have you ever heard of something called the spiral case? Have you ever heard of that? I know President Trump has made a big deal about getting control of Greenland, but this program is known as the spiral case, or sometimes referred to as the coil campaign. And by the way, my sources for this are the BBC, Wikipedia, amongst others. Sometimes called spiral campaign in Danish. And I don't know if I said it right in Danish, but that's my best bet. This involved doctors and health authorities inserting infiltrating devices, basically IUDs, into thousands of Greenlandic Inuit females, often without informed consent. So here you have the Danish going over here there and or having all these girls fitted with IUDs, often without consent. Knowledge or permission, including minors as young as 12 years old. My goodness, I'm not a OBGYN, but that can't be good. It ran primarily between the mid-60s to the mid-70s, with some cases continuing into the 1990s. During the peak period, roughly 66 to 70, around 4,500 women and girls, which was the equivalent of about half of the fertile female population in Greenland at the time, were fitted with IUDs. You wonder why there's so few people there? Because of the Danish government and this population control crap that they've got going on. It was an explicit aim to control and reduce Greenland's population growth. Greenland's population was rising rapidly due to improved healthcare and living conditions after World War II because the United States kicked so much. Oh, I almost said a bad word. We kicked so much butt that the population was growing. They were flourishing under the control of the United States. Increasing Danish welfare and it also increased Danish welfare and subsidy costs because, of course, you gotta have the people dependent on the government for their everything, their every need. And the Danish government, while they are awesome farmers, they didn't know how to actually pay for it. Danish officials viewed limiting births as a way to manage demographics and public spending. Imagine that. A government like Denmark, who, all these left-wing lunatics are supporting right now, "Oh, we're gonna manage the population through giving women IUDs." Never mind faith and religion controlling one man and one woman in a traditional marriage. No, 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 can't have that. Screw whoever you want. Just put this IUD in and go to town. Methods and coercion. Insertions often occurred during routine school medical exams or other healthcare visits. Many women and girls reported no explanation, no consent, and no awareness of what was being done. Some devices were oversized for young bodies, leading to severe complications like infections, chronic pain, bleeding, and other permanent infertility. This is the government of Denmark, ladies and gentlemen. Government of Denmark. Caller, I see you. I'm gonna put you on. I'm gonna take your call, but I'm gonna turn you down for a minute. I gotta finish this. Historical context. Greenland was under Danish colonial administration until Home Rule in 1979. And there's more developments in this, but we've got a phone caller, so I want to try to take the call. Well, they didn't want to wait, so good for them. Get the heck out of here. I'm rocking and rolling. This really didn't even come to light until the 2023-2025 timeline. The scandal gained major attention from a late 2022 Danish radio podcast, which I don't know what it was, that exposed and archived survivor testimonies. And everybody's saying, Andy, you're just making this up. These are all QAnon, right-wing conspiracy garbage. Well, in August 2025, Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, I hope I said that right, issued a formal apology calling it systematic discrimination and acknowledging the physical and psychological harm. Greenland's leadership has also apologized for any post-1992 continuation. So even the government in Greenland knew what was going on, and they did nothing about it. Who was it behind that? World Health Organization? I don't know. World Economic Forum? I don't know. Government of Denmark? Definitely. In late 2025, Denmark agreed to compensate victims 300,000, whatever Danish currency is, kronos, I think it is. Danish kronos, maybe? Which is about $46,000 per US, or $45,000 in US dollars, via a reconciliation fund. Starting applications, they're just starting applications in 2026. So they're not even starting to have retribution yet, or reparations yet. A September 2025 report detailed hundreds of confirmed forced cases with lasting harm. I'm sure there's more than hundreds. If this started back in the 60s and 70s, then you know for a fact that a lot of those ladies who had this done to them are no longer walking the face of this earth. Some Greenlandic voices have described it as a form of reproductive violence. I would say this. I would say that. I think it's definitely a human rights violation by the government of Denmark, and they need to be held to account. And then we get American left-wing nutters who are upset that, America might try to buy Greenland. And by the way, we can take that back legally through the NATO treaty. Go look at it. Don't believe my voice for it. I want you to trust me, but I want you to verify me. We can go get that. But we're talking about paying these people, $1 million each, plus giving Denmark money. Hell no. After this, we shouldn't give Denmark a damn dime. And we should just take it and pay the Greenlanders $1 million each and say, we're sorry for what happened and we're going to make it right. Look, this is all evil. This is organized evil moving amongst us. Real life demons. Who does that? Who puts an IUD in a 12-year-old? What kind of sick freak does that? What kind of doctor? I thought there's the Hippocratic Oath that says do no harm. That crap is completely out the window in modern medicine, not just in America, but around the world. It's not do no harm. It's how do I get the next grant? How do I keep my funds coming in from the government? There's real world demons out there, and I know people think I'm crazy because I bring a biblical worldview into it. Jameson was never afraid or shy of that. I'm not afraid or shy of it, but I do it in a different way. I hope you all see that. We're going to take our last commercial break of the first hour. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Oh, yeah, this is the Andrew Gosser Show, and I will not let you down. We are moving and grooving here at the Andrew Gosser Show, and look, I just wanna tell you, and I know that that person tried to call in a couple times, but sometimes it's just not the right moment to take the phone call, but I do appreciate it, and if you wanna call back in the next hour after Founding Father Friday segment, I'd be more than happy to take that. But then I got this a couple of really and I'm not used to I'm not against getting negative feedback and stuff, but people wanting to know about what's going on in Minneapolis and in Minnesota and what does the whole World Health Organization and World Economic Forum have to do with what's going on in the United States right now. And I would say everything. There is more than enough information and coverage coming out about what's happening and what's not happening in Minnesota, but no one's really talking about where the real policy is being made. And it's almost like, "Here, focus on Minnesota, focus on Minneapolis, focus on all this craziness. Don't look at what we're doing over here." We have to be able to walk, chew bubble gum, pat our heads, and rub our tummies at the same time. And I just don't think that what the walkthrough that we just went through with the World Health Organization, with RFK Jr., with Bill Maher, with the doctor from Kenya, is gonna make mainstream media. And I am an important, influential part of the media. And it's my promise that I made to all of you when I took over the show for Jameson that I would cover things that perhaps weren't in the mainstream media, and I'm grateful for that. I've got granddaughters, I'm gonna have more grandkids here soon, hopefully, and I don't want that crap injected into them. There's a great chart that shows back in the '70s, there were 6 vaccinations you got up to age 3, and now there's something like 26. You can't tell me that there's not something that they're doing to our babies. When we see birth de birth rate declines across all the Western Hemisphere and in some places in Africa where the World Health Organization is operating, you can't tell me that there's not some correlation and causation there. When you have a doctor coming on and saying, "This has been going on since 1972, been working on this since 1972 through the '90s, getting it all figured out." And yeah, by the way, who gave these these pharmaceutical companies complete immunity? You all know the president that did that back in the 20th century. No, it wasn't William Jefferson Clinton. It was Ronald Reagan. Yep. I know it stings. I know it hurts conservatives. Ronaldus Magnus, arguably the greatest president that was in my lifetime until Trump came along. And I've got all sorts of studies. Now these psychologists are starting to come out and say that Trump derangement syndrome is a real thing, causing sleeplessness, anger issues, mass formation psychosis in full effect. Brought to you by Pfizer, Moderna, Apple, and Samsung, with honorable mentions to AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and countless other multimedia companies. Dudes, we're in a strange time, my friends. We truly are. We we have technology that's coming out that you can't tell what's reality and what is AI generated. I mean, go look at some of the Star Wars that's coming out. And I know Maul Shatterlord's dropped, and I was excited to see that. But there's Star Wars stories untold on YouTube. You want good Star Wars? Go watch that. You can barely even tell the difference between the Empire Strikes Back and what the AI has done. It's really filling in the gaps. It's really incredible. And AI has the potential to do a lot of great things. It also has the potential to do a lot of bad things. Arguably create a new religion. In the next hour, we're going to have our Founding Father Friday segment. It's going to be a lit one. You're all going to know him. He's a really popular guy. I know that this one's been, I know I say that every week, but I know he's been talked about in the schools. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9. We'll be right back.
is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Steve Kathan. Snow, ice, plunging temperatures, all factors in a storm system that figures to make life difficult in much of the country through the weekend. There's concern and anticipation in Arkansas.
It's been a madhouse. Snow pants all weekend. Got a sled to get pulled around by my roommate. You know, we're making sure it's going to be a good time in the snow.
CBS News meteorologist Rob Marciano.
9 to 12 inches of snowfall from Oklahoma City to Springfield to St. Louis. There's your ice situation, especially east down I-20 towards Shreveport and lower parts of Arkansas. And that's today and through Saturday.
The East Coast gets hit Sunday with more than a foot of snow forecast in many places. One of the FBI's 10 most wanted, former Olympic snowboarder Ryan Wedding, is in custody, as we hear from CBS's Michael Wallace.
Wedding is accused of running a drug trafficking operation and orchestrating the killings of federal witnesses. Last month, FBI Director Kash Patel released a new photo of Wedding, likely taken in Mexico last summer.
Ryan Wedding is a modern-day iteration of Pablo Escobar. He's a modern-day iteration of El Chapo Guzman.
Investigators say the drug ring used semi-trucks to move cocaine between Colombia, Mexico, Southern California, and Canada. Wedding was a snowboarder for Canada at the 2002 Olympics in Salt Lake City.
Federal officials are defending the move to detain a 5-year-old boy in Minneapolis whose father was targeted by ICE. Border Patrol Commander Greg Bovino.
Challenge any other law enforcement agency anywhere nationwide to show me the fantastic care that ICE and U.S. Border Patrol provide children. Don't come across the border illegally, especially don't commit crimes, or there will be consequences.
An official agreement reached now for a mostly American investment group to control TikTok, the popular video app. A U.S. ban had been threatened because it's owned by a Chinese company. CBS's Kelly O'Grady.
The takeaway for U.S. consumers is you're still going to have the app. It might look a little bit different in terms of the content, but globally, you will still be able to interact with global creators.
On the Health Watch, CBS's Michael George tells us
people with obesity face a higher risk of dementia, including Alzheimer's disease. That's according to a new study in Denmark. Researchers say it's likely high blood pressure, which often comes with obesity, is one factor driving the risk. But they also stress that means that medications that address obesity could potentially help lower cases of dementia.
Renee Fleming is the latest big-name celebrity withdrawing from appearances at the Kennedy Center. It all follows President Trump's move to change management and add his name to the place. Wall Street, right now the Dow is down 250 points. The S&P and NASDAQ are higher. This is CBS News.
I'm Andrew Garrett. Follow and listen to The Takeout on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's ring in the new year by finally checking off something that actually matters. Your old videotapes and photos are fading more every year. VCRs are disappearing, and the clock is ticking to save your family's most important memories. Hi, I'm Adam Maslauger.
And I'm Nick Mako. We started Legacy Box to help you preserve your memories by converting all your videotapes, photos, and film reels into digital files. And this year, it's easier than ever.
Introducing our biggest kit yet, able to hold up to 80 videotapes or film reels or 2,000 photos. It's perfect for big collections. You can even send in old DVDs, memory cards, flip phones, or early generation iPhones.
Legacy Box is truly the easiest New Year's resolution you'll ever keep. Just fill your box and send it in. As the world's largest digitizer of home movies and photos, all work is done in the U.S., and we're trusted by over 1 million families.
Start the new year right by rescuing the moments you haven't watched in years. Go to legacybox.com/radio for an incredible 55% off. That's legacybox.com/radio for
News and weather brought to you this hour by Flora Animal Hospital, where we treat your pets like our own. Visit our website, floraanimalhospital.com.
When the wintry precipitation could happen in this part of Mississippi. Not today or tonight. It's cloudy with a high at 54. Tonight, cloudy with a low at 36. Saturday's high is 46, and rain is expected all day and will last into Saturday night with a low at 29. That could cause some trouble. Sunday, the high is 36, and that comes with the possibility of freezing rain, sleet, and snow. You've got news on 103.9 WYAB. I'm Chris Davis.
Everything is on the board. The entire area has a chance to see some frozen precipitation, but the Delta and northeast Louisiana, southeast Arkansas, stand to have the worst case.
National Weather Service forecaster Michael Hill. That does not mean central Mississippi is off the hook. Saturday night and Sunday morning, freezing rain is possible. And he says after that comes some big time cold with a low Sunday night at 12 and Monday night at 11.
On top of having possibility of no power, we're going to be cold. So please check on your elderly, check on anybody. Make sure we take care of each other because people will not have power.
If ice or snow becomes a problem, you are being asked to travel as little as possible. Bobby Land is the Public Information Officer for Highway Patrol Troop D.
So we do want you to make sure your car is winter ready. Make sure you have a blanket. Make sure it's full of gas. Do that now. Inform somebody of your route that you're going to take and your estimate time of getting there. Do be patient. If you do slide off, you can call 911. You can call Star HP or your local if you're here in the city or in the county.
Governor Reeves says a state of emergency is in effect through Tuesday. That allows the state to help local authorities in case it is needed. More news in 1 hour on 103.9 WYAB. I'm Chris Davis.
The views.
Yes, you are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB, where we do not fall victim to the mass formation psychosis that's being perpetrated upon the United States of America and the globe. And we are streaming on Rumble, so you can hear us in Germany. We are streaming on X, so you can hear us for now in Great Britain. We are streaming on YouTube, so you can hear us in Denmark. And we are streaming at WYAB, where you can hear us worldwide. So if you can't pick up the 50,000-watt blowtorch that's in Flora, Mississippi, well, guess what? You can pick us up online, and we appreciate that. If you aren't following me on X yet, I would appreciate the follow. It's just at Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser. And it is a Founding Fathers Friday. I'm really excited for that. But before we do, I want to say that the mission at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? Y'all are the saints. And we got a twofer today. As far as scripture goes, we got Ecclesiastes. What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. Everything that's happening around the globe, it's nothing new. And here's the other big part of it. In the days that there were no king in Israel, everyone did what was right in their own eyes. How many of us are doing what we think is right in our own eyes? Do we ask for guidance? I don't know, but I know the Founding Fathers did. And this is a really popular one, ladies and gentlemen. When this one came up in the random generator, and that's how I'm choosing it, there's 56 Founding Fathers. I labeled them all 1 to 56, and then I just hit a random number generator, and it pops out, and that's who we get. And today, it is that really well-known Founding Father, Joseph Hughes, ladies and gentlemen. Joseph Hughes, born July 9th, 1730, and died on November 10th, 1779. And he was a key American founding father, best known as one of the 3 North Carolina delegates who signed the Declaration of Independence. And it's a really well-known fact. He was a well-respected merchantman, and we're going to get into that. And he also loved the United States Navy. He represented North Carolina in the Continental Congress despite being born and raised in New Jersey. A little bit different there, a little bit different moving around. Born in Princeton, New Jersey, to Quaker parents, Aaron and Providence Hughes, he grew up in a family farm estate. Now, this is something where we're going to take a little bit of a detour here before we get into his Quaker upbringing, because I can remember learning about the Quakers in 6th and 7th grade, but I needed a refresher, and I thought it would be really good for you. A Quaker is a member of the Religious Society of Friends, a Christian religious group funded in the mid-17th century England by George Fox. Quakers emphasize direct personal experience of God through an inner light or inward light, present in every person, rejecting formal creeds, ordained clergy, elaborate rituals, and outward sacraments. And I know there's a lot of Christians who I don't like the organized religion. I don't like the organized church. Well, neither did some of your founding fathers, but yet they believed in Jesus. And the Quaker religion directly comes from a Christian religious group. They are known for core testimonies. Do you have a core testimony? I don't know if you do, but I know Joseph Hughes did, and including peace. They did not like aggression and violence at all. I did not realize this about the Quakers, but they didn't really, the Quakers did not like what was happening as far as the American Revolution is concerned, which makes the story of Joseph Hughes even more exciting as we break into it here. And the reason that they were called Quakers is because that sometimes they would shake when they're praying. And so I just felt that was really important because, the attack on our founding fathers with respect to their faith and belief system is really, really under attack and assault. They're all deists. And nope, they're all different denominations of Christianity. Raised in this, he grew up with his family on his farm estate. Raised in the Society of Friends, he received a classical education, likely at a local Quaker grammar school, which there's no direct citation for that, but in the 4 or 5 different places I looked when I was researching Joseph Hughes, it all said that was his likely upbringing. So I put it in here. Unlike many Quakers who leaned pacifist or neutral, Hughes pursued a career in commerce rather than farming. So he already had a way for him to buck the trend a little bit. He wasn't necessarily going down the path that the traditional Quaker man would go. And isn't that true about all of us? Because there is no perfect follower. Some of us like watching football on a Sunday, and I'm guilty of that. Some of us like doing stuff that maybe doesn't necessarily fall within the faith. We fall short, but we continue, and so did this guy. He apprenticed in Philadelphia with a merchant. Then in 1754, he moved to Edenton, North Carolina, a bustling port town, where he built a highly successful import-export shipping business. Where have we heard that before? A lot of our founding fathers were mercantile traders, import-export business. I see a theme going here. His mercantile expertise made him wealthy and influential. He served in the North Carolina Colonial Assembly, started around 1766, and became a leader in patriot resistance as tensions with Britain escalated. And this is really exciting to me because me being a former Navy guy, sailor for almost 10 years, 3 cruises on the America, this guy was the guy who really started getting the U.S. Navy starting to really rock and roll. In 1774, Hugh was selected as a delegate to the First Continental Congress in Philadelphia. He served on key committees, including helping to draft the Olive Branch Petition. Again, this is his Quaker roots coming through his personal actions. And this is often not taught in public school, let alone you really have to dig deep online. It doesn't even necessarily talk about it on YouTube. You have to really go search out different sources for that. And I'm learning a lot about this as I do these Founding Father Fridays. In the Olive Branch Petition, it was the final attempt at reconciliation with King George III, and it was rejected. He was selected by the Second Continental Congress in 1775. He played a pivotal role in naval affairs, including he took a lot of his fleet, his merchant fleet, turned it over to the fledgling country, and then paid for it to have it outfitted himself. And the reason that they did this is because he showed extreme prowess with his trading abilities, his known of trading routes, and his deep maritime experience. He was appointed to the Naval Committee, later the Marine Committee, in late 1775. He helped establish the Continental Navy, outfitting ships, procuring supplies, and even scoring a commission for who? John Paul Jones. This is the guy who gave the United States of America John Paul Jones, ladies and gentlemen. One of America's earliest Navy heroes, and we know this. He reportedly put his own fleet at the disposal of the revolutionary cause. Yep, he really did, sacrificing personal resources for the war effort. And you have to think about this. You know, we often hear lives, fortunes, sacred honor. You know, these founding fathers really put it all on the line. And then you look at some of these blue-haired, nose-ring protesters out in Minnesota. God bless them for protesting in the cold, but are they really putting their lives on the line, or are they jeopardizing others? And know that lady who got shot, she did not put her life on the line. She made a stupid decision, and she got herself killed. The difference between our founding fathers and the protesters of today is so night and day, it's not even crazy, or it's not even legible. On the question of independence, Hughes initially hesitated because of his Quaker roots. Think about this. Here is a guy on the Continental Congress who's not wanting to vote for independence because of his religious and spiritual beliefs. It's absolutely incredible to think about that. And yet, well, we'll get into it here in a minute. I don't want to jump ahead of myself. He favored reconciliation longer than some radicals, but by the mid-1776, after North Carolina's Halifax Resolves, and we got to talk about that. What the Halifax Resolves in North Carolina were basically telling their delegates to the Continental Congress that they could vote for independence if they thought it was appropriate. And Joseph Hughes, you know, he was one of the last people hanging out trying to get this reconciliation done. But when North Carolina passed the Halifax Resolves in 1776, authorizing its delegates to support independence, he committed fully. John Adams described a dramatic moment during the vote on Richard Henry Lee's resolution. Hughes reportedly stood up, raised his hands, and exclaimed something like, "It's done. I will abide by it." And again, this is from, I found that in 3 different sources, but there are other sources who are saying that that's a little bit dramatic and that's not what happened. But it's widely believed by more than a few people that when Joseph Hughes said it's done, that's what really started the floodgates for the last people who were holding out on that. He signed the engrossed declaration on August 2nd, 1776, and continued serving in Congress, focusing on finance, appropriations, and naval logistics. This guy is so well revered by the United States Navy that they continue to name ships after him. I found at least 3 ships with the name Joseph Hughes, the last one being a frigate. It was commissioned in 1972, so it's about time for us to have a new one. He was reelected in 1779, but his health declined rapidly. And this is something that's really important that I think that he doesn't get enough recognition for his service. But listen to this. His health declined rapidly from overwork. He was described as becoming haggard and exhausted from his tireless efforts. He resigned and died in Philadelphia on November 10, 1779, at the age of 49. He was the only signer of the Declaration of Independence to die in the seat of government during the Revolution. Congress attended his funeral en masse, and he was buried at Christ Church Cemetery. Now, nobody knows where he was actually buried. It's an unmarked grave. But not only was he the only signer to die while serving in office, but they had a 30-day mourning period, completely unheard of at the time, for Joseph Hughes because of his contributions and leadership to our nation's independence. Here's another interesting fact about Joseph Hughes. He was never married, had no direct descendants, and his wealth never had anybody to bequeath it to as far as family is concerned. His commercial savvy, naval contributions, and eventual unwavering support for independence were crucial to the American cause. And I just think that, people like Joseph Hughes, and it's spelled Hewes, by the way, people like him need to be remembered. I mean, how many of your 15-year-olds, you say, "Hey, can you tell me who Joseph Hughes is?" You can tell me who John Hancock is, but you can't tell me who Joseph Hughes is? People don't know that. How many of you out there didn't know that? That's why I think it's so important that we have Founding Father Fridays here on the Andrew Gosser Show. And this is just my interpretation of it. I hope that this segment goes ahead and spurs you to learn more about this gentleman and realize that all of our founding fathers weren't jerks. The government is just completely out of control. The education system is out of control. They're not teaching about our history, which is why we're having the problems that we have around the country and the globe right now. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show right here on 103.9 WYAB. We will be right back. Oh, yeah, we are back at the Andrew Gosser Show. I really appreciate I got 4 texts. I'm gonna read 1 or 2 of them. "Thank you for having Founding Fathers Friday," says unknown texter. "It's very interesting." I appreciate that. I love Founding Fathers Friday. I can't wait for next Friday. Well, Lord willing, I'll be here, and we'll pick out another one. Well, I won't pick it out. The random number generator will. But Founding Fathers Friday, it's definitely something that's important. And hopefully, this is something that you can share with your kids. You don't like how I researched it and what I did. Again, I used uh, Wikipedia, the White House, a couple other sources, and I sit there and I write it up, and that's just what I go with. And you can do the same thing. And look, you don't have to be perfect with your presentation, voice enunciation. Not everybody has a voice like Brother Kim Wade or Brother Clay Edwards or Lindsey Beckham or Chip Matthews. Nope. You can have a little bit of a warble like me, and you can still make it happen. And your kids will love you for it. Your kids will love you for it because you're spending that quality time being a parent. But there's something else I wanna talk about. Speaking of being a parent, did you hear on the fake news how ICE detained a 5-year-old boy? And you sit there and you look at all the news sources, CNN, 5-year-old boy taken by ICE in Minneapolis area after being held with father at Texas facility, making it sound like we're hunting him. Well, that's CNN. You've got ABC News, more fake, I almost cussed, fake news. Patch, which is a local news media place, that's fake news. But there was one place that actually reported what the vice president actually said about it. And I want to read it to you because, again, this mass formation psychosis, um, it's real. And you know what else is real? Operation Mockingbird, where the mainstream media all parrot the same things over and over, chicken or beef, and they just get you to rush in, and you don't do the research. And I have to give credit to listener Rick, who went ahead and forward this to me. This is coming from Newsweek, and I'll just get to the salient point. Asked with whether he was proud of how the administration is conducting the crackdown, Vance said in part that the child was not arrested and argued that the agents were carrying out their duties while standing behind law enforcement. Vance initially reacted with alarm, he said, noting that he himself is a parent and a child of that age. But after looking into the incident, he said it became clear that the child had not been arrested. So what is it saying? You've got all these blue-haired, nose-ringed hippies out in Minneapolis saying that he was arrested. No. Instead, Vance said federal agents were attempting to detain the boy's father, whom described as being in the country illegally. Yep, if you came in through without a visa, without following the proper steps, you are here illegally and are to be deported ASAPly. And that's why we at the Andrew Gosser Show support the Glacier Act by Senator McDonough up there in DeSoto County. We got to get these people out of the country. And if that means we can go ahead and use some of our local law enforcement to help get deputized with ICE and go on these missions, hey, I'm all for it. Instead, Vance said federal agents were attempting to detain the boy's father, whom he described as entering the country illegally, and the father fled. Vance argued the agents had little choice but to keep the child with them temporarily, saying that the alternative would have been leave the young child home alone. What kind of father runs away from his child? What kind of mama runs away from their child? We don't talk about parenting enough and how it is the most important thing you can do is raise a good kid. Yet you have all these mainstream media people out there saying, "Oh, look at all the poor treatment." Who was the president of the United States who put children in cages back in 2014? Who was the president who put women in cages back in 2014 and took photo ops? President Barack Hussein Obama. It ain't Trump. No, we build Alcatraz Island and we do a whole mine psyop memory hole operation. It's disgusting. And honestly, I don't know how these journalists can sleep at night This whole, and I know I haven't really talked about Minnesota. I'm just going to talk about it a little bit as soon as I take this phone call right here. Let's bring up the volume. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, how you doing? This is Willie. I just wanted to say I'm listening to you. I'm getting ready to go into the hospital, but I want to tell you something. These people, I heard you asking what kind of people would do this. What kind of parent would do this? Well, the godless kind of parent would do this.
Ah.
You know, they are the one. You know, I've been listening to you. You know, I can't hear it much because I'm in the hospital, but I've been listening to you and Kim and things. But I heard something that has been bothering me. They finally, I heard someone address the fact that Mr. Obama was, when he was having ICE to go and deport people and things like that, nobody would complain. And he even gave, I saw yesterday where he even gave Tom Homan, I think that's the way you pronounce his name.
Yep.
A reward for doing such a great job and all that. And I'm saying, what is it with the people now? And then I heard someone say the reason why is because, I mean, it's because someone called Kim Rachel and said that he was quiet. They did it quietly, you know. And I'm saying, well, this could be quietly too. If you didn't have people out there notifying and they're rioting, out there protesting, why didn't they protest doing? The fact is, they didn't protest because it was a Democrat that was doing it. Godless people follow godless people. You know?
Yep.
And so I just wanted to say that. And to the person that called and said it was because it was quiet, I thought about an analogy. I said, now, it means that I can get on Highway 55 and go 120 miles an hour because my car that I have has a good muffler system. You can't hear it running hardly. I said, and I don't have to worry about being stopped because I'm running quietly. But if I was back there when I was a teenager and had glass packs and all that, then I can get up. The fact is, a crime is a crime.
Yep.
Illegal is illegal. That's all. Okay, that's all I have to say. You have a very blessed one. I'm getting ready to go in the hospital, and please keep those prayers going up for my wife, okay?
Brother Willie, I promise you we're lifting your wife up in prayer, and I know everybody who hears me talking about it right now is going to add your wife to their prayer list too, Brother Willie. You take care, my friend.
You take care too. Well,
that was Brother Willie, and he, seriously, be praying for Brother Willie and his wife. They're in a season right now, and they need all the prayer that they can get. And it's just one of those things where those of us who believe, and we pray up our brothers and sisters, and those of us who don't believe sit there and think we're silly, but we're not the ones sitting here being angry, running around everywhere, causing a mayhem and a ruckus, creating a mess. And I guess this is a great segue into this DM that it was given to me last night. And I want to read this. This is coming from David Jones via Facebook, of all places. Hey, Andrew, I wanted to tell you that I really like listening to your show. You have great insight, and I like your perspective on the different subjects that at hand. Thank you for your service. I was in the Marine Corps from 2001 to 2005. Thank you for your service, Devil Dog. We appreciate that. And that was not like the easy times, like the mid 90s when we were having the peace dividend. You were right in the soup of GWAT. So thank you for your service, my man. I truly miss being in. Man, me too. I mean, if I could go back and be flying again in the Airborne Air Control Squadron, man, I'd be doing that. Even if I had to be on a ground control squadron, man, I'd do that too. I loved it. I was wondering if you could speak on the subject of bringing God back into the school system with both prayer in school and overall getting God back into the schools. And what are some ways that that can be done? It's just a thought that I think is very important. I think needs to be brought up and talked about more and more and more until hopefully maybe one day it will happen. And it goes on for a little bit more, but he says he's tuning in and listening. So while we get ready to go to break, I've got a list of things that we can do, Brother David, and it's not difficult. And Mississippi is the state to do it if there was a state that's going to do it. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB, and when we get back, we got some ideas. We're going to talk about it. Oh, yeah, we're back on the Andrew Gosser Show. And in the last segment, I read that wonderful DM that was given to me by Brother David, and I wanted to just expound upon that a little bit if I could. And I've got to adjust this right here. You, Brother David, if we're going to get God back in schools, we got to first know our Constitution. And I'm not talking about the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. I'm talking about Article 3, Section 18 of the Mississippi Constitution. And I've talked about it before, but there's not a lot of people who seem to remember this. So I'm going to just read it real quick here. It's one paragraph. It's really simple. It's really straightforward. No religious test as a qualification for office shall be required, and no preference shall be given by law to any religious sect or mode of worship, but the free enjoyment of all religious sentiments and all different modes of worship shall be held sacred. The rights hereby secured shall not be constituted as to justify the litigiousness, injurious to morals, or dangerous to the peace and safety of the state, or to exclude the Holy Bible from the use in any public school of this state. Now, there's two important parts to this. We're supposed to be using the Heavenly Bible, and I've got plenty of founding father quotes that talk about this. I don't really do that, but what I would ask is, how many of us actually go out and talk about our faith to other people? Dare I say the D word? And we're never supposed to say the D word. There's books on it, and there's relationship advice on it that you never say the D word, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Discipleship. I mean, here's the truth of the matter, is that we as Christians have been lied to ever since the separation of church and state, which we all know is a lie from the pit of hell, and it's framed us. Even when church and state came out, it didn't really have an immediate effect. I can remember back when I was going through grade school in the 70s, we had morning prayer, and this is in the People's Democratic Republic of Illinois, y'all. This is I don't know what it was right here in Mississippi, but we had prayer. I can remember Mrs. Gable singing Bible hymns in the morning with her guitar. It was absolutely awesome. I loved Mrs. Gable. I actually tried to fail first grade just so I could have her again, but once I found out that Mrs. Gable wouldn't be my first grade teacher, I moved on to second grade quite quickly. But getting back to it, exclude the Holy Bible. And just you can sit there and focus on different things in the Bible if you want, but if we just taught our kids the book of Proverbs and the book of Ecclesiastes, our society would be so much better off. Because right now, the Black Lives Matters group, the LGBTQ group, they justify acts of litigiousness and injurious and to morals and dangerous to the peace and safety of the state. You look at the summer of love, you look at what's going on here, and you can just look at a person and say, "Hey, is this person sitting here trying to start a ruckus? Or are they coming out here trying to be injurious to the society?" All of a sudden, being a parent isn't important anymore. Do we talk about that in school? Better yet, how many pastors actually talk about the importance of being plugged in civically? Nope. And I've said this at my church, and I've told my pastor this, and my pastor agrees. They want us inside that church every Sunday. They want us packed in there. They want us prayed up. They want us worshiping. They're totally fine with that. But you step out that church door now, you can't show your faith. You can't have your faith. For crying out loud, we took out "In God We Trust" on the license plates to avoid a lawsuit. If someone is an atheist and doesn't want "In God on Trust" on their license plate, just say, offer one without "In God We Trust" on it and keep "In God We Trust" on the main one. It's that simple. Are they not gonna use dollars anymore because it says "In God We Trust" on the dollar? The arguments that are made against our moral and base and how we came up with the morals that made this country so great is evident for everybody to see who's above the age of, I'd say, 42, 43, and depending on the parents, above the age of 30, 31, maybe 20, 25. But this new group of kids coming up who have not been exposed to why we think the way we think. When you think about the number one news source for people under the age of 27 is TikTok, yeah, that's scary. Where's their moral belief coming from? So what can we do about it? Well, you can go and talk to your school board. You can actually be part of the school board. You can actually go ahead and talk to your neighbors about it. You can invite some kids to church. You can invite some friends to church. You can hold a Bible study with not only your friends and neighbors, but with your kids. I mean, seriously, how is a kid gonna know how important God is, their faith is in their life, if they don't see you talking about it any other time than at the dinner table once a day? How many of you pray over your wife or your husband at night while you're lying in bed? I know I seem a little bit combative here and a little bit preachy, but those are the things that I think we need to do, and we need to teach civics. We need to have Founding Father Friday, and it just can't be one person on the radio who's doing it. It's got to be a ground swelling, and you're seeing it. This group of kids growing up right now, they are the highest spiritually tuned in generation. They're looking for something, and people don't want to hear it. It's just honestly, Trump derangement syndrome is just like Christianity. People hear it and they just want, if they like Trump, they turn it up. If they don't like Trump, they just turn it off. They don't even want to hear the other side. And I guess that's like another big aspect to all of this is how do we interact with our friends and neighbors? I don't know. Why do you have the thoughts on police the way you do? Why do you respect the police? Why do you not respect the police? I'm telling you this, and I'm going to keep this for next week. But I had the entire first hour was going to be something different. It was going to be on the Mount Zion Baptist Church burning in Philadelphia, Mississippi, by the Ku Klux Klan on June 16th, 1964. I got it all ready to go, and I really wanted to talk about that because we can sit there and talk about why certain groups of people feel the way they do. Well, they look at that and they see what happened politically, legally in their communities. And let's just be truthful. Let's just keep it 100. The legal system failed that community. It failed the church. The political body, Operation Mockingbird, and everything else has done such a great job of dividing us all up and taking away our spirit and our core beliefs and making it homogenous. The homogeny. In science fiction books, they talk about it all the time, how bad it is, and yet our leaders over in Davos are talking about a one world government and homogeny and how important it is. I would argue that it's not. But when mom and dad are at home and they can't even defend why they believe what they believe, Dad, why do you believe that birth starts at or life starts at conception? Mommy, why do you love Daddy? Mommy, why isn't Daddy at home? Daddy, where's Mommy? These are questions that previous generations, boomers, Xers, we had to deal with it a little bit, and I had to deal with it personally, but the divorce rates in the white and black communities are skyrocketing. And it's a shame. And the more we get away from something, the more we spiral further and further out of control, and it just gets more rapid and rapid. It's almost like a spin or a stall in an airplane. You stall out, the airplane's gonna try to correct itself, it's gonna fall, you're gonna put the nose down, power up, do all the things you need to do, run your emergency checklist. I'm not pilots, please don't blow me up, but, basically recover the aircraft. But we know at a certain time, if we don't recover the aircraft, it's gonna end up augering into the ground. And I would suggest that if it wasn't for Nick Shirley and Don Lemon, we would not have the emphasis being placed on Minnesota right now that we do. That's right, I said Don Lemon. Just there's so much to what can we do to bring God back into our country, and it just starts with you and your household. And being good disciples in and around your neighborhood and your friends and family. Oh, they don't want to hear it. They don't might not want to hear it, but they're going to see it. I know mine does. They let me know all the time. Andy, what are you talking about today? What are you going to talk about this weekend? Well, I'm not a preacher. I will preach a sermon if my pastor asks me to, and I have. But, can you preach a sermon? Could you just take one thing, Ephesians 6, and talk to your kids about that? Ephesians 6, 1 through 4. Go figure it out. I think that's where we have to start, David. And I wasn't planning on going there like I did, but sometimes the Holy Spirit just take over, and that's what it is. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. When we'll get back, we'll have a quick weather update and get us rolling off into the weekend. It is Friday. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show. We'll be right back. Oh, yeah. It is the final segment of the Andrew Gosser Show today, Friday, the 23rd of January, 2026. And man, it was a good show. It was a good show. I have to say, I had about 3 hours worth of show prep ready to go, and I used about 25 minutes of it. Just other things take the course of the show, and hey, that's what live radio is all about. Great to always hear from Mr. Willie. We're praying for you and your wife, brother. And it's really what David talked about. What can we do? Honestly, it just means, for lack of a better phrase, coming out of the closet and being sweet about it. That's my technique. There are other people who can go ahead and do that. Look, we got to talk about this weather. Um, Everybody likes looking with the local weather. I choose a different route. I actually follow a guy on YouTube called Ryan Hall, y'all. And if you've heard of him, you've heard of him. It's not that I don't trust our local news weather guessers or anything like that, but we don't have cable at the house, and I just don't pick up the stream. It's a lot easier for me to watch that guy, and he's been pretty accurate. It is looking. I have to say, I have to toot my own horn a little bit. This Monday, when I saw the high pressure starting to raise up, I'm like, oh, this is going to be good for us. It's going to go north, and it has. So hopefully that continues its track, and we in the greater Jackson metro area, we don't get the ice, but it is going to get incredibly cold, ladies and gentlemen. And they're talking about busting pipes and everything. Just remember to keep those faucets moving. It's worth it to have a little bit higher of a water bill than to have to replace a busted pipe, And apparently there's some of you people who didn't like the last segment, and quite a few of you actually did. And I appreciate all the positive feedback that came from that. Having a radio show and having your faith on your sleeve, not always the easiest thing to do. There's definitely easy ways out to make things a little bit more entertaining for the masses. And I do want to entertain the masses, don't get me wrong, but I also want to make sure that I'm a good example. And one of the examples that we often have here on the Andrew Gosser Show is what I like to call the Sweet Bee Appreciation segment. And David, this is just another idea, my man. Just another idea. But if every husband would just go read Proverbs 31 and you employ some of those techniques, tactics, and procedures, you would find out that you would be in a lot better place, just emotionally with your wife, dare I say spiritually. And I know that for me in my house, I read this daily. I'll read Proverbs 31 daily, because I have to remind myself that, raising our child, it's a tag team effort. And you might be in a situation where you don't have that tag team effort, but you can start changing your heart and changing the way that you're being projected. And you're going to find that special someone, and you're going to have it grounded and based in mutual love and respect. But at the center of that, if you don't have God, then you're in trouble. It says a cord of 3 strands is hard to break. And I'm just here to tell you that it's true. Can't deny that enough. Sweet Bee, I love you. I'm so grateful that we're going to have this weekend together. It's going to be cold. The lambs are dropping at the BA farm. Stay tuned to WYAB. We'll keep you informed. Until next time, everybody, take care. Be blessed.